Hey,
About
hey.
to talk a little bit of NBA draft with my bro. First, let me make sure this is streaming to Facebook
Hey.
and not get too much echo going on. And yeah, I think we live. Yep, we live.
All right, let's get it,
I
bro.
got my man Kev in the building, New York City in the building, but he not a Knicks fan. But we'll talk about that a little bit
Listen, I
later.
keep telling you, hey, don't do that, bro. You know how it is.
But we're just doing a little NBA draft talk. And we're just gonna kind of talk throughout the night a little bit. And man, maybe we'll try to make it to the first 10 or 15 picks. I'm old man, so my bedtime is probably in about an hour. I got to at
My,
least make it to the Bulls pick, Kev. At
see,
least the
look,
Bulls pick at the minimum.
see,
Yeah.
I
Then
wish I could say that. Like, my team, we picking super early, and even then too, I'm a Sixers fan. Hate me all you want to, but it's just one of them things where like, come on, man, I want good for my team, but this is crazy.
yeah, most def. But man, how you feeling about the NBA draft, bro?
Honestly, bro, like this is again, the draft is always super exciting. For me, I'm just curious, but I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, we already know what's gonna happen at the first pick. Mavs, come on now, let's not waste my time. I am very curious to see, like, with all the trades that we've been seeing happening so far, how many trades are gonna happen tonight? And are there gonna be any blockbuster moves? Like, again, talks, people saying Giannis and all that stuff. I don't know, but I am very curious to see like how if the current trend of all these trades happening, how it's going to impact the draft tonight. If teams are going to be aggressive and see how they're going to try and move and reshape their teams.
Nah, no doubt. Definitely. We know Cooper's going number one. It's
Yeah,
very interesting just how all of this has played out. With the whole Luca trade that shocked the world, and
listen,
everybody was trying to come for the general managers. Nico is it Nico Harrison? I think that's what his
it
name.
was Nico Harris,
And
Nico the
to
most
try
hated.
to yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, bro.
yeah,
And he was the NBA's villain for a minute, and now I'm not gonna say this has redeemed him, but and I'm not a conspiracy theory. I'm not.
yeah,
I don't think this happened to Dallas just to make up for the Luca thing. There's a lot of people who
yeah,
believe in those type of conspiracy theories, and no hate to you if you do, but
yeah.
um, this is a bit of redemption
Hmm.
for Dallas, and I think I don't know. Hold up, I think we're about to get the first pick.
Okay, come on.
But while they
Let's,
get ready to announce it, no,
yeah.
I think they just about to open it up, so we didn't keep
Okay,
talking.
I
But
got you.
I think there's a little bit of redemption.
Hmm.
In my opinion, right now, bro, uh, with Dallas having the number one pick in the draft,
Hmm.
I'm looking at their roster going into the next season, and
Yeah.
coming off OKC winning the championship, and I know Dallas dealt with a lot of injuries throughout last year. But
Hmm.
if you look at Dallas roster on paper, I'm not saying that they're gonna win
Hmm.
the championship next year, but on
Okay.
paper, they have the best roster going forward in the West, including Cooper Flag.
So,
Now, as you're
okay.
pondering that, let me
Hmm.
hit you with what they got.
Okay.
So you coming back? They just re-signed Daniel Gafford to another
Hmm.
3 years now to an extension. Now they may have signed him to use him as trade bait at the trade deadline because basically he'll become a bigger asset at the trade deadline. And plus, you're
Hmm.
trying to figure out your roster because now you got a lot of bigs on your roster with
Hmm.
him and Derek Lively. Those your starting and backup bigs. Now
Yeah.
you got Anthony Davis, you got Cooper Flag, who I don't know if he'll start or not, but your
That
starting
man
front line
started.
should be P.J.
Yeah.
Washington and A.D. Cooper Flag, Najee Marshall, bro, one of the toughest wings in the league.
Okay.
Now Kyrie's going to be hurt, So probably won't be back until January, February, probably after the trade deadline. But you still
Mm-hmm.
got Max Christie coming off the bench. You
Mm-hmm.
got Caleb Martin, who's an underrated role player that was hurt most of last year and came back, was still playing injured. And I'm not a big Clay Thompson at this point of his career fan, but you still got Clay who can shoot.
Good. Yeah.
Um, they need a point guard. You know, there's rumors online. They're looking
Mm-hmm.
at Chris Paul. I don't like that fit. They're talking about D'Angelo Russell.
Russ,
Yeah,
leave that
not
alone.
not crazy about that fit.
Yeah.
They're talking about Schroeder, possibly, but the pick that I like that they could possibly go after is Malcolm Brogdon off the low key, because Malcolm Brogdon can
Mm-hmm.
come in, fill in as a part time
Mm-hmm.
starting point guard, but can easily you can move him to a backup role. But I'll
Yeah.
let you comment your thoughts about that.
See, my thing with this is, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but my pushback is this, right? That is two things. Injuries is a real thing, but away from the injuries, the bigger thing that I'm asking is, what are your expectations of Cooper Flag, right? If you're expecting him to come in as a rookie and learn the game, how much time are you trying to give him before you ask the question of like, yo, we need a championship out of you, right? And it's rare we see a situation where such a talented player goes to such a team that's ready, right? And again, like, so to me, that it might be a bit of a swing for the fences. But if I was Dallas, I love the idea of picking up Brogdon. Depending on what my books look like, if I can go out there, I'm trying to see what's up with Drew Holiday. You get you a really good defender. You plug him in. You say Kyrie play offense, this and that, and you have, like you said, you have the Cooper Flag, seeing what he can be. Then you're talking about either AD or Gafford or Lively, because again, they might decide they want Lively to start and things like that. But with a defensive team like that and a coach like Jason Kidd, they could make some noise. My thing for the Mavs is just like the biggest thing, even beyond injuries, is like, hey, what are the expectations going to be for Cooper Flag, and are they going to give him that space to develop the way he needs to? Because if you're coming in on a team like that, realistically, the expectation is for him to be a role player. But if you're Dallas and you drafted him, you want him to be a franchise player. So the question is, can there be that smooth transition, not necessarily between AD and Coop, but I would say between Kyrie and Coop? And it's not that I think Kyrie's a selfish player, but Kyrie's style is like he's more of an ISO one-on-one player. And it's like, how is Cooper going to develop under that? But and again, like that's just a long-term projection. But I think right now, like I could see them with, assuming that there are no health issues, they could be one of the teams that's pushing a challenge for, at least even if they don't challenge for a championship, I could see them in the Western Conference or them having a tough 7-game series with Oklahoma.
No, I totally agree with you. And the pick is in. They should have just announced the pick right after he said
Exactly.
welcome and all that. I don't even know why they let the first
Well,
3 minutes of the clock go down. Like we were like, oh my
everybody
gosh,
knows.
is it going to be Cooper Flag or not? Right.
Exactly.
But no, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, bro. And I think probably the compliment to piggyback on that conversation is I think with I think with Cooper coming in, you don't have to put pressure on him to do anything. I think this is, in my opinion, one of the best situations that he can walk into
Hmm.
because he's not going to be expected to drop 20. Now, the pressure is going to be on AD. Pressure is
Yeah.
going to be on AD to stay healthy and a pressure on him to be a superstar caliber player. Now, the thing about Cooper Flag is he has the ability to play multiple positions. You know, he can play the four. The question is, can he play the three at the NBA level? I think he's versatile enough that he can. I mean, he
Yeah.
played a lot of point forward at Duke, which he shows he can, be the one to run the offense. And so I think you might see a lot of point, maybe some point forward in spots in the
Yeah.
beginning. And so when Kyrie does come back, I think it gives, the opportunity for Kyrie to play off the ball. Cooper Flag being a ball handler, Also
Yeah.
think it's key whoever they sign as backup guard,
Hmm.
whether it's a Brogdon, whether it's a Chris Paul, whether it's a D'Angelo Russell, whomever that guard is, to
Yeah.
also be kind of a combo facilitator. And I think really it's pressure's on Dallas just to produce with this
Yeah.
roster.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with AD. And I think if it gets to a point where if they start bombing,
Hmm.
then you move from the AD era quickly to the Cooper Flag era. And then,
Yeah.
or it's the Kyrie now that he signed the extension, it'll be the
Yeah.
Kyrie kind of
Yeah.
bridge
Um,
to Cooper Flag.
and to Kyrie's credit, right? I know he had people try to label him as a headache and all that stuff. And I'm like, since he's been in Dallas, you haven't heard a peep out of him. He just showed up, played ball, done what they asked him to do. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. So I think he would be a good mentor for Coop. The question I have is like with AD, right? Do you how confident are you in AD is the question I'll ask you.
All right. I'm going to answer that question. We got the
Yeah.
first pick finally coming.
Come on.
Cooper Flag.
Oh
Here we
my God,
go.
I didn't know it was gonna happen.
Um,
Who knew?
um, yeah. So how confident I am in AD?
Yeah,
I'm not super confident. I
yeah,
think I think the approach. If I was Jason Kidd going into this year and knowing Anthony Davis injury history, what I would do is, and especially at the beginning of the year, and you got all this depth on your team, I will only play 80, 26 to 28 minutes per game. There's no reason, in my opinion,
mhm,
right now, especially when you have players like PJ Washington who can play the four, Cooper can play the four, you
yeah,
have some versatility on your team. You got players who can score as well. I think you kind of take the pressure off AD, just allows him the opportunity not to overdo it, but
yeah,
also gives him the opportunity to rest, not put the pressure on him, and I think it allows the opportunity for him to be a more efficient player too. I
yeah,
think at this point of his career, like yeah, you want to run the offense, you want to kind of see him as your franchise player, but lower the minutes, lessen the load, take the pressure off, see if he can stay healthy for a full 82. Not that I don't think he will play 82
yeah,
games. I think you still got to sit him some games
yeah,
in a lot of situations. But almost like what happened with Kawhi.
yeah,
Like he didn't really they kind of ramped him up in Kawhi playoff time. He was playoff Kawhi. I
yeah,
mean, unfortunately, they didn't have a good enough team to make it to the next round. But I think you got to take
yeah,
not maybe the same approach as Kawhi, but I think you got to take
yeah.
a similar approach and not overuse him.
Gotcha. No, I agree. I feel like I'm the Mavs. I'm pulling the Anthony Davis in early. I'm like, yo, listen, with our target for you is we need you to play 60 games. 60. Like you said, that load management, 26 minutes, he can complain all he wants when it's like as we get close to the playoffs, we'll ramp up. But that's the expectation because that's when we'll need you. And again, we depending on what Kyrie and Cooper are able to do offensively, and there goes that question. But I know the Spurs are on the clock now, and that's the question I have. Like, how do you feel about the Spurs? You know, that they're dangerous teams. So how you feel about those young boys?
Yeah, so I think they're in a really great position long term, and so
Yeah,
I think they should be one of the teams in the West threatening. And don't get me wrong, you're going to have a lot of good teams in the West. I think
yeah,
easily 12 to 13 teams vying for the playoffs next year. Spurs being one of them. I'm glad that they did not go after. Now, no, no, no. Now I did kind of somewhat like the idea of Kevin Durant there playing
Mhm.
alongside of Wimby, but
Mhm.
I also from that's kind of from more of a fan standpoint, you
Yeah,
know, from an analytical looking at the game, looking at the Spurs, the makeup of their roster, their timeline. Their
yeah.
team is young,
Hmm.
young pieces. KD is 37, oft injured, barely playing 50 to 60 games a year these days. My issue with even the thought of him going to San Antonio is, can you really, it's almost like the AD situation. Can you really rely on him to be in the lineup and be able to take the
Yeah.
pressure off Wemby? So I like that they did not do an overpay to get Durant. Um, I think they're going to pick Dylan Harper, which is
Hmm.
the obvious pick, unless for some odd reason there's been a few rumors about the Wizards, the Pelicans, other teams trying to trade up to number two. I don't think they're going to budge.
Yeah.
But likely Dylan Harper is going to be on this team, and you keep this young timeline: Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle,
Hmm.
Wimby. You still got Devin Vassell. You still
Yeah.
got the other Keldon Johnson on their
Yeah.
team. A lot of young
Yeah.
pieces. I think at some point they will make a trade.
Yeah.
If anything, if they're going to make a trade, trade for Giannis. If you're going to make a trade, trade for Giannis. Giannis and Wimby.
Mm. See, I'm not mad at that per se. For me, I'm looking at it at this standpoint, right? I agree with what you said, right? My question for the Spurs is, or how I look at it from the Spurs, I'm like, okay, who's a young veteran I can bring in that can help facilitate the growth of this team, right? So now again, I feel like this. If you're gonna swing for Giannis, why not call Boston and be like, yo, what's up with Jalen Brown? Right? Now, the reason why, again, like my thing for not necessarily going for Giannis is I think Giannis is a phenomenal player. And to your point, you're looking at this young team. I liked the idea of them signing Chris Paul last year because he was a veteran presence, all those things. But looking for someone who's a younger veteran who could come in and help facilitate the growth of this team and walk with them as they're learning to win, right? Because again, like the thing with a guy like Wemby, you know what he's going to become. And let's not forget, excuse me, they do have the Aaron Fox, and he's their guy who can go, hey, when they're in a position where they're ready to compete on that level, they got a guy who can go out there and close out for them and all those things. So that's why if I'm looking at the Spurs, I'm trying to find a young veteran who can kind of come in and help facilitate the growth of the rest of my team.
Well, the pick is in. Dylan Harper, number two
Ah,
pick,
okay,
San
okay.
Antonio Spurs.
Listen,
I agree with you.
yeah,
I think there's a lot of possibilities. Uh, I think, yeah, De'Aaron Fox, I want to be able to see how him and Wimby can function together for a full season.
yeah,
De'Aaron Fox is definitely one of the more underrated guards in the league, but
yeah,
was he that good because he played for Sacramento? Can he be that good playing next to a superstar? Those are questions I have about De'Aaron
gotcha.
Fox. Um, and I do think they need some other veterans. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, Sohan. I mean, you got young horses on this team. You got Sohan.
I'm
You got Wimby. You
listen,
got Vassell. You got Keldon
Ca-
Johnson. You got Castle. Now
Castle,
you got a
like,
6'6" guard in Dylan Harper who can, basically um, score at all three levels on the
yeah,
court. Now it's
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting log jam at the guard position for
yeah,
sure. But I mean, you set up for the future, and even if
yeah,
the Aaron Fox flames out, I mean, you still got Dylan Harper and
yeah,
Castle is like your guards of the future.
exactly.
But
And not even
I
just that
think
too.
the Giannis
Mm,
piece.
mm,
No, I think the Giannis piece. I like to me. I'm thinking about Giannis and Wemby. Like defense would be crazy, yo. Who
you ain't
who
starting
would dare
nothing.
drive to the basket on these two? But I
Yeah,
like what you're saying about
mm,
like yeah. If I'm San Antonio,
mm,
I would throw some
yeah,
capital at the Celtics for Jalen Brown.
Mhm.
But I think the question is going to be, what does the Celtics and or Milwaukee would want? And they probably would guarantee probably want Stephon Castle and
Mhm.
or Dylan Harper. And if you're San Antonio, you're like, I
See,
like it, but is it, are we there? Are we championship material to make that move for either or?
yeah, I feel like Milwaukee would definitely want those two young players, right? Because Milwaukee's basically going to be in a rebuild. I feel like with Boston, if you say like, okay, because again, like you said, they do have that log jam. The reality is, I feel like if I'm De'Aaron Fox, he better be in the gym right now, making sure that when the season starts, he's either playing at an MVP level or an all-star level. So that way, all this conversation, because he's going to be the odd man out. And and it's not to say like no knock on him. I agree with you. I'm in the camp that De'Aaron Fox is a good player. He just was on some bad teams, and that's what it was. But again, like I'm looking at it, and I'm like, if I'm because the thing with the Spurs is like teams like the Spurs are so dangerous because they can literally call up virtually any team and say, "Hey, what can we get for your star?" Or even if they don't want a star, they can. If they don't want to get a superstar, rather they can get a star player, and it's just like at any point in time they can hit the button and either speed up their maturation process. And after seeing what happened with OKC, why would they?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and see that's the thing. Like you don't have to rush anymore.
Yeah.
OKC, and I'm glad you brought them up. Like they provided a new model for the NBA. If you
Yep.
look at this year's finals, this is not the era of the superstar loaded teams anymore. If
Yep.
that's the way, and especially with the second apron, if that's the way that you're looking to
Ooh.
build teams anymore, that you're pretty
Yeah.
much like limiting yourself, because look at what happened to Phoenix this year.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Bill Booker Kevin Durant experience didn't
Yeah.
work. I thought it could. I won't lie,
Mm.
when the first trade I was like, all right, Bill, even though
Yeah.
he I think he overachieved here in DC, but
Yeah.
I thought it would work. I'm wrong
Mm-hmm.
about that. But now I think it's showing that you can't have more than two stars on your team. And
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially, if you want to tell the truth, OKC only had one star and a couple
Yeah.
of really good players and a lot of great role players. And the same thing with Indiana.
Yeah. And
Holly
I'm
was the star. You
hmm
had some really good players and a bunch of good role players. And now I
yeah.
think teams are looking to build their teams differently, aka Boston, who just
Mm.
got rid of KP. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of it getting rid of KP and Drew was
Yeah.
cap related to get out
hmm
that luxury tax. But can we build a team without overpaying and staying under the second apron and luxury tax?
Yeah. And like,
Philly's up next.
man, I gave up on the Sixers,
But no,
man.
you go ahead, keep talking,
Yeah.
keep talking.
No, I got you. Not me, because like
We'll
my
talk about your Sixers in a second.
do we have to come on? No, but how I see it. But like even then too, like I think what we saw in addition is like people don't realize what the Pacers did over the years. They took players that teams gave up on and they developed them. And to your point, I think that's where it becomes that the conversation about like, okay, development, it got pushed on the back burner because we saw quote unquote a lot of superstar teams. But even when we go back and we look at those eras, it wasn't really like the LeBron Heat teams, right? They were good, they were great teams, but even when we look at what teams that came after them did, there's a lot of questions you got to ask. And I think like what we're seeing now is like, yo, trying to force, we always knew like trying to force a championship wasn't the way, but now we're starting to see that the development of some of these players in some of these markets where it's not that pressure and they can just go and become who they are. We are watching the emergence of superstars the organic way. And it's like, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Now, we'll see how many teams actually learn that lesson, but yeah. Yeah, because I
Well,
know
we
my
got to
team.
lead into Philly. They're about to make their pick.
Oh God.
This is your team, your squad. Um, I'll
Yeah.
jump in just with my thoughts. I mean, I really think they should trade back.
Yeah,
Ace Bailey is supposed to be the pick here, but Ace Bailey has been sabotaging his draft stock because he's
yeah,
trying to get to the Wizards or another team that he can
yeah.
start it right away. But the pick is in.
Hmm. Lord, it's probably Bailey too. Yep.
Nope, BJ Edgecombe. And so this is
Okay.
where they were
Okay.
rumors going in the last
Okay.
couple of
Okay.
days.
Yeah.
Guard from Baylor, um, really good
Yeah.
scorer. Now, I
Hmm.
think this is a good safe pick for Philly. This is my issue with Philly.
Hmm.
How many guards do you need on your team? This is like the same issue that I had with my Bulls. We got like 7 point guards on our team.
Yeah.
How many guards do you need on the Philadelphia 76ers? And so, and then, like, and then there's some good things here. I
Hmm.
know this is, everything kind of didn't go the way that the Sixers wanted it to go, but you got Tyrese Maxey,
Hmm.
a rising
Rising
star.
star.
I wouldn't call
Hmm.
him a superstar yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
And you got what's his name? The guard,
McCain.
the
Uh,
McCain, yes. Now
yes. Hmm.
McCain can ball. I love McCain. Now you got Edgecombe. Now it's another guard on your team.
Hmm.
Um, and then, well, see, this is my issue. They have also what's my guy that's going to be free agent? Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
Quentin Grimes showed that he could ball, bro. I don't know
Yeah.
what Dallas, and maybe because it's the end of the year. Maybe it's the end of the
Yeah.
year because a lot of that,
Yeah.
players when teams start tanking, don't play everybody. You
Yeah.
have players in the last 20 to 30 games look like, you know,
They playing for that contract.
they the greatest player ever. Right,
Yeah.
right. And so I mean, but this guy was dropping like between
Yeah.
20 and 40 points on a regular basis. And
Yeah.
so then my question is Philly going to resign him? Because there was rumors that they would want to bring him back. But then like, are we going to go back to these four guard lineups with Philly and playing Paul George at the four? Um, and yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
This is
lot
what I
of
realized.
holes in this roster.
It's not even just that, but like the thing about Philly is, for whatever reason, they fall in love with positions, right? Like when it was Embiid, they took Embiid, Okafor, Saric, and Ben Simmons. They took like four bigs in a row, and it's like you don't need that many bigs, right? My thing for the Sixers, as I'm looking at it, the reality is, I feel like they know they got to blow the team up. I don't know what they're wasting their time for. And you might as well move Embiid now, see what you can get for him, because you do have two, you have a good young backcourt that you can build around, right? With positionless basketball, I would re-sign Grimes. You know, you got your one, your two, and your three. Figure out what you need for your four and five and go there. Because again, like we're looking at a team where, although they don't want to say it, they missed their window and they know it, right? Because and now it's like they're trying to figure out what's next. And it's like, listen, when they chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, we saw how that played out, right? When they chose Ben Simmons for a little bit over Joel Embiid, we saw how that played out. So to me, it's just admit that it was a mistake. You know you're not going to have the grace to tank. That's fine. But you have enough young pieces where, at the very least, you can put out a competitive team that plays hard. And within the next 2, 3 years, you focus on being in the playoffs playing. It's like, let's be realistic. Y'all not winning the chip anyway. So just start the rebuild process. But it's just like they keep trying to double down and make it seem like, oh, they're in competitive mode. And it's like, you're not, because the two players you're going to rely on the most are injury prone, and the guy who should be getting the ball, like, what are you going to tell Tyrese Maxey? Because I'd imagine it's only a matter of time before his name starts coming up in trade rumors. So, because even last year when McCain started, people didn't know McCain could ball the way he could, and he was playing. It was like, yo, do you really need Maxey? And that's when Maxey was injured, and like you saw what McCain could do. He was a bit out there with some of his off the field antics. He wasn't that crazy, but it's like TikTok, the nail polish. But I'm like, bro, you out here killing people, doing what you got to do. I ain't mad at it. Go ahead. But again, like if I'm looking at the Sixers, they're probably gonna sit down there and say like, oh, they're in compete mode, and it's like personally, if it was me, I would be Joel Embiid would not have been on my roster come this. I would have heck, they could have even tried to call Milwaukee and see if they could have swung Embiid for Giannis or something like that. And it's just like you need to get one superstar for another. Now, will Milwaukee do it? Probably not. But it's just like they need to be in a space of admit they're in a rebuild and see what they can get for the pieces and assets that they have now.
Honestly, bro, I don't think you can move MB right now because of just his health status and I think historically, in order to move Embiid, you're going to have to attach a couple of first round picks and send them to somebody that has cap space. And then when you're in a position where you're about to rebuild, you can't do that. So you're
Yeah,
literally stuck with him on the roster for a year. And I wouldn't even try to bring him back this year. I
yeah,
would like call this year a wash.
hmm,
Just develop your young players, your young talent. You got a Dean Bona to back up,
yeah,
see where he's at in his development, see if he can be a starting center. You got McCain. I don't know if Andre Drummond's going to exercise his option to come back.
hmm,
I think he should. Like, I think that
yeah.
guarantees him the starting center spot.
That's true. Yeah,
And I mean, I think it would be crazy unless he wants to go somewhere like back to the Lakers, be a lob threat for
yeah,
Luca or something. I'm
yeah,
not sure if that's the greatest fit for him, but I mean, or he could go to Phoenix, who needs a center. But
yeah,
I think it would be smart for Drummond to come back, um, and just like let the year be what it is, and then like if you end up being a bottom 10 team, you get another draft pick to add to
yeah,
maybe Embiid coming back next season.
yeah.
So, um,
I get you.
yeah, but that contract, Embiid's under contract 50, and I'm looking
I'm,
at salaries 55 this year, 59 next year, 64 and 27, with a player
yeah,
option of 69 and 28.
yeah.
Embiid ain't going nowhere, at least for a year or two. So,
I mean, I hear you. I just like the thing for me, like just being honest, is like, and not even speaking as a fan, just speaking from as an analyst, right? The big issue in Philly is whose team is it? And it's unfortunate because for the duration of Embiid's career, that's been the question he's had to battle, right? He's obviously the most skilled offensive player they have on the team. The issue is the health and the leadership. And again, you're looking at a guy like Tyrese Maxey who has earned his stripes and he's showing you he could carry a team. That's why to me, I'm looking at it and it's like you if I was the Sixers, trade deadline is when I'm gonna try and move and beat. I'm gonna wait to see who's desperate and be like, hey, because that's the to me, that's the time when you can catch it. And it's like I feel like there are gonna be some teams that will be crazy enough to make a move. Right. Like I could see either one of the Lakers or the Clippers, depending on how things go, like, all right, yo, this is what we're gonna do. And it's like, go make the move you need to. Oh, all right,
Charlotte Hornets, pick is
boy.
in. Khan Canupo. Yeah, I think that's how
Okay.
you pronounce his name. They add a shooter to
Yeah,
this team. He was a tough player at Duke. Saw a couple games that he played. Now Charlotte's
yeah,
going to be interesting this year, and we can come back to the Philly conversation. But Charlotte's going to be interesting this year, especially in a year where Boston is kind of taking a step back.
yeah,
Holly's going to be out all next year.
mhm,
Indy's probably taking a step back. Dame's going to be out most of next year. Milwaukee's going to
yeah,
take a step back. Now,
yeah.
is this the year that Charlotte can make some progress? I'm not going to say the playoffs, maybe the play in.
Okay.
I mean, they got some good, decent young players. I mean,
Yeah.
if LaMelo can stay healthy, which is always a big question. I mean, you got LaMelo Ball, you
Hmm.
got Miles Bridges, who I think,
Hmm.
reputation because of the court activity the other
Yeah.
year. but he's still a pretty good ball player.
Yeah.
You got
Miller.
Brandon Miller,
Yep.
who's a rising young player. Mark Williams, who they were, I don't know. I thought they were kind of crazy to trade to the Lakers, but also I
Yeah.
thought they were. I mean, I understand you weren't winning anything anyway, so get them draft picks.
Yeah.
Lakers were crazy for voiding the trade because they needed that center in the middle. So Mark Williams, Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and you got kind of
Yeah.
that wannabe tough guy Grant Williams.
Hmm.
I mean, you got some good young players on the team. Now you add Khan Canupo, a shooter.
Yeah.
I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they
Yeah.
could be a play-in team, especially
Yeah.
with where the East at. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts?
See, my thing with Charlotte is this. Charlotte is funny because Charlotte and Philly got a similar situation where their lead player is great skill wise, but then the question becomes, do you trust that leadership? And I think the thing for me looking at Charlotte, I like LaMelo. I like what they have. I think I'm a go on a limb. I know I'm sound crazy. I think they're gonna get. I could see them pushing for the 6th seed, right? And my thing for them is, like you said, like they have these young players, they have this young talent. The question I have for them now is like, not. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm taking that leap of faith. I think this isn't so much going to be the year of LaMelo as that I think this is going to be the year of Brandon Miller. I think Miller's going to take that jump and he's going to do the things and become that player that's going to get that team to being a bottom seed playoff team, not a play-in like 60, but that's what I could see that because I think the thing for Charlotte is like, as much as they don't want to admit it, LaMelo's an exciting player, but I think he might be the poster child for someone who is exciting but isn't necessarily viewed as a winner.
That's exactly where I was about to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad if they trade Lamelo.
Mhm.
I don't know necessarily who and where he fits.
Clippers.
Um,
I'll tell you why the Clippers would take him, right?
Next to James Harden,
They're not worth it.
man,
I'm gonna tell you
I'll
why
I'll drop 50 points. I'll drop 50 points a game against the Clippers every night against Lamelo and James Harden, bro. There's
and
no
I
defense going on between us two.
and I don't disagree with you at all, right? But this is the thing about it, right? Remember, the Clippers, they want a star who they can put in and make exciting. LaMelo, if he don't do nothing else, he's an exciting player to watch, right? They'll probably tell Harden, "Hey, we appreciate you, but your time has passed." And like that's what I'm saying. Like if you because they're the some of these teams, like a team like the Clippers, they're so desperate to be relevant, especially with that new building they got. They're gonna be one of those teams that make a crazy move. And I feel like if I'm Charlotte, I don't know what the Clippers have to offer per se, but you know, heck, even if that's the case, try and see if you can swap out Lamelo for Ty Lue and bring Ty Lue to Charlotte. And if it's possible, make that work. I'm so serious. If that's the only answer they got, like, come on, bring him Wilson, that coach over, and it's like, but yeah, it's just like I felt to
If
your
I'm
point, like
Ty Lue, I would retire. I would retire if I got traded to Charlotte.
I,
There's no way. I would never come back to the NBA. That is like NBA purgatory.
no, that
No,
is
but
just
I feel what you're saying.
yeah,
I feel what you're saying. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think they need that star power. Uh, I think there are going to be some questions
mhm,
after this season because I don't think that uh, Harden and Kawhi are the long term fits. I think you got to
yeah,
see how the year goes and you got to decide to move in some type of direction.
hmm
You know, I think I think maybe a Lamelo to Clippers, not this year, maybe next year. I think you got to go through this year and see what happens. But I think if the Clippers are in the bottom five in the West at the trade deadline, I think everything's up in the air.
I got you.
So
So then I do have a question about the Clippers, right? Because my thing, and again, like I'm not trying to. I think the Clippers are going to be. desperate, and their desperation is going to make force them to make a move that they shouldn't. Right? I could see Lamelo being one of the players they're eyeing. The other player who I could see them eyeing is John Morant. You bring a guy like John, and it's like because again, to your point, like for me, I love Ty Lue. I love what he does as a coach, a culture, but just call it a spade a spade. The Clippers are not in a space where they can actually give him the type of team that he needs. Right? I'm sure if he was to put him on true serum, he wants James gone, he wants Kawhi gone, he wants some young players that can actually play hard. So I could see them making a desperate move. So yeah,
All right.
they took Bailey,
Wow.
Utah. Okay. Mm. How do you feel about that?
Now, I know he didn't want to go to Philly,
Hmm.
and I know he didn't want to go to Charlotte.
Hmm.
A lot of the rumors was he was trying to get to DC.
Hmm.
I feel like they said he didn't want to go to Utah, but I think if he didn't want to go to Utah, this is a Danny Ainge saying, "I don't care what you want, we
Yeah.
drafting you,"
Hmm.
and you know, so I don't know. I mean, I think Utah is just some garbage right now,
Yeah.
and they got a bunch of young players, but don't have like a star. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Ace Bailey can ball. Um,
Yeah.
think he didn't have a really good college year. I
Mhm.
mean, he had an okay college year, but he wasn't. He didn't
Yeah.
wow me totally. I think he can play.
Yeah.
This fit in Utah. I got questions. I mean, right now they don't.
Uh,
I mean, they got John Collins. I mean,
marketing.
last year was.
Yeah.
I think he could play next to marketing. I mean, marketing is more like a three. I mean,
Yeah.
so I think the benefit with this is like Bailey could be a 3-4, marketing could be a 3-4 because they can
Yeah.
play next to each other.
Mhm.
I mean, I think they'll probably end up trading
So
or try to trade Collins at some point. He just opted
into
into
his contract. Yeah.
his deal as he should have. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
26 mil. I would opt into my contract too.
Yeah.
But
And you know,
um,
he's gonna get traded. He's not finishing the team, and he's not finishing the year in Utah. So that's definitely a big dub for them. Yeah. My thing with Utah is like I feel like if marketing is man, listen, if my expectation is like I feel not marketing, excuse me, Bailey. I'm looking at Bailey like you're in Utah. You know they're gonna want to. Danny Ainge is gonna want to cater to you. His goal should be rookie of the year, right? Of so far of all the rookies, he's the one in a position where he pretty much has the green light to shoot as much as he wants to, do all the things that he wants to. So if he's not able to parlay where he is into a rookie of the year and have a very strong rookie campaign, it's going to be disappointing. And you know that the NBA is not going to forget what you did because you came out and said you disrespect the teams took it as disrespect. You canceled all your interviews and all those things, and it's like you gambled. So you're in Utah now, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they basically sent you to the Siberia of the NBA, where it's like nobody's seen your games and all that. So you got to make sure you put up numbers and be a human highlight reel for people to know who you are. But that being said, I think like he's in the best position to do those things, and we'll see if he's able to rise over the noise and different things that's happening.
yeah. And as I thought, like, you know, Social media is saying that Ace Bailey, the rumors were he didn't want to go to Utah, and Utah drafted him anyway. So Utah was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
We taking the best player available. You come in here.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. And we'll see. I'll be curious to see what his attitude is going to be. Like, is he going to come to Utah as a prima donna? Um, that could hurt him. But
Yeah.
I think he just need to be as humble as he can.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's opportunities that he could, um, you know, be one of the main players in Utah. Um, I don't know that they're going to keep marketing long term either. So I think it's a matter of being patient, allow
Yeah.
them to move some of these players out in trades. It might not happen until, some may happen here in
Yeah.
free agency next week, and some may not happen to, the trade deadline.
Yeah.
They got a lot of expiring contracts, and so I
Mhm.
mean he'll eventually, if not right away, he'll be the full time power forward on his team moving
Yeah.
forward. But we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah.
We got the Wizards up next.
All
We're
right.
getting
Your
10 to
hometown.
35 seconds.
Okay. How you
It's
feel
my
about
hometown,
DC,
but I
man?
ain't no Wizards fan.
Hey, you ain't got to tell
Um,
me twice.
I mean, and I'm sure somebody at some point is going to watch this and going to say I'm hating on DC, and sometimes I do, not all the time, but
Yeah.
I think they're moving in the right direction. Young team. I
Hmm.
think I mean, this trade was a little interesting that they made yesterday with the
Hmm.
whole picking up CJ McCollum, but all of this is about expiring contracts, and so
Yeah.
they want vets on this team along with their young players. Um, I think CJ may get moved again by the trade deadline if he doesn't get moved again in the next week. Uh,
Yeah.
but or gets bought out to go play for a contender. I can see
Yeah.
that happening too. And so
Yeah.
the Wizards are trending like kind of. I mean, again, everybody's taking that building a younger team route. I think everybody's seeing the model. What OKC did, other teams are
Hmm.
starting to trend in the right direction. You have above Carrington that played well last year. You got Bilal Koulibaly, he's a very kind of decent wing player. Alex Sarr started to come in his own towards the end of the year. So you got a guard, you got a wing,
Yeah.
you got a center. I mean, they have some other young players, Keyshawn George, AJ Johnson, who are playing well towards the end of the year. You still got Corey Kispert, who's like your shooter. I've seen enough Wizards games, especially when they play the Bulls. I normally go to the Bulls games when they play here,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty familiar with the young team. So they're going to roll out the young horses again this year with the vets. Um, you got Marcus Smart, you got Chris Middleton. It'll be interesting to see how they do the player rotations.
Hmm.
Um, again, I think Middleton could be another player if he can rebuild his value, could get
Yeah.
moved later on down the road or bought out.
Yeah.
But I think right now they need a guard here. I think they should pick Trey Johnson from Texas
Okay.
at the number 6 pick in this end. Let me see if I'm right. Yep. Trey
Go
Johnson from
ahead.
Texas. I'm a prophet, bro. I'm a
See,
prophet.
you know what it is, man. It's
Um,
that. Yeah. Nah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good pick for the Wizards. He's the best shooter in the draft,
Yeah.
and so this is the eventual, you know, Bob Carrington at the one, him at the two
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Koulibaly your five. Eventually, you find another 3, 4
Yeah.
player to add to that lineup. I mean,
Yeah.
Keyshawn George can play like the three, and Koulibaly could get away with some small ball four. But I mean, they got
Yeah.
a good young team moving forward.
Yeah.
They're
A-
about 3 to 4 years away from being a good team.
And not for nothing, they're one of the teams where they actually have. I like the veterans they have in their locker room. I like Marcus Smart. I like Middleton. I think they're gonna buy out CJ, but if they do keep CJ, you have a very good group of veterans who can definitely help that group develop into what they're capable of. And that's what I see. I think the thing for me with the Wizards is I understand why they went after Jordan Poole. I'm not mad that they got rid of him. I feel like, let's be realistic, he didn't pan out what he was supposed to be. I just kind of look at it and I wonder, like, okay, like to your point, are they targeting a big? Are they looking to see if they can go get someone maybe later in the draft or even like a trade? Because again, like realistically speaking, the East is wide open, right? Because people are looking at Boston, they have questions about Boston, and no one really believes in Indiana without Halliburton, right? So yeah, this is the year to kind of make those moves. And I also forgot Milwaukee. Let's see what happens with Milwaukee and how they end up too. So I'm surprised that the Wizards haven't made like a rash decision at this point in time because that's kind of what I've come to expect from them. But like you said, like they have a good core together. They are developing them, and let's see what it grows and develops into.
Yeah, they do have another pick in the middle of the first round here. I think somewhere around number 18. I might be a little bit
Yeah.
off. So I think they could target center there,
Mhm.
or a four type player. You got an Asa Newell from Georgia who might fall down to that spot. That could be a good four
Yeah.
player, or power forward player for them. Um, yeah, I think they definitely have the opportunity to just kind of rebuild. I think, like you said, having veterans on the roster that can teach them good habits,
Yeah.
that can get in their ear, teach them the right way to play the game, whether they'll be there for a full year or not. I think it's very intentional to have these players. And I think what could happen for the Wizards, I'm not too sure about this, but what I see a possibility of happening is a Utah Jazz year from 2 years ago, where
Mm.
Utah Jazz came out, was not expected to really compete, and then they were like the number one seed in the
Yeah.
West for like the first 30 games, and then
Yeah.
it was like, nah, we gotta start trading players away and start dialing this back because it's not where
Yeah.
we was trying to go.
Yeah.
Um, and that's because they started losing games. Well, I think it wasn't even necessary trade. They just started losing games, and they just started kind of
Yeah.
tanking the year. They kind of did it a little bit too late, but I could see the Wizards with the East being a little bit weak
Yeah.
with the veterans that they have. I'm not going to say they're going to be good, but I could see them
Yeah.
competing, maybe overachieving a little bit,
Yeah.
and people would be like, "Oh man," people would be asking those questions. Man, the Wizards might be good, but I don't
Yeah.
think they will be. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if they're more competitive than expected. Nobody's
Yeah.
expecting anything from the Wizards this year, but they could
Yeah.
surprise with some wins.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, and that's what's funny because again, like that's what I'm saying. Like some teams have been uncharacteristically calm, and it's again like you just kind of looking at the history, and I'm looking at Washington, and it's like because this is the thing that I think is going to be funny too. If Washington mess around and become a playing team the year after they get rid of Jordan Poole, oh, it's over for him. And it's like to me, that's the question I have is like, what with the like I said, with the veterans they have in that team, on that team rather, and what they've been able to accomplish in their careers and what they're known for, I could see Washington being a tough, hard-nosed team. Maybe not winning quite yet because they don't know how to finish it off. But this is the year, like to your point, where they build those good habits and they become that team where it's like they're not winning, but they're a scrappy team, and it's not an easy W the way people would expect or think it's going to be.
Yeah, no, I can
All
see
right.
that. Speaking
Yeah.
of Jordan Poole, New Orleans pick us in. Um, They decided to go younger with the Poole move. Now you got
Okay.
Poole and Murray in the backcourt. You got
Yeah.
Zion coming back. You got Herb Williams, Trey Murphy. They've gotten
Yeah.
considerably younger. Still got Eve Messi,
Yeah.
they drafted last year as a center. I think at this pick they should pick the center from Duke, Malawak.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. I don't know that they'll do it.
I think.
I think
Okay.
they need they need to keep a defensive presence there. I don't think they
Hmm.
need to necessarily draft a guard here
True.
um,
Yeah.
because of DeJounte and
Cool.
um, Poole,
Hmm.
but we'll see in a couple seconds.
I think they should get a 4. Um. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. See.
So
I
this
think.
is a best player available type pick.
Okay.
I like Jeremiah Fears. I think he's one of the best point guards in the draft.
Hmm.
I think any pick for them would have been fine, whether they went a big or a wing or a guard. I think they could have benefited from getting another big on their team, but um, yeah,
I'm not
Jeremiah
gonna.
Fields is going to be a baller.
Yeah.
Yes.
See,
Um, I
and
think
that's.
depending on how well he does,
Hmm.
he could be your sixth man, or potentially move Murray down the road and
Nah.
get some other players on this team. But go
What
ahead,
I.
jump in. What's your thoughts?
Nah, what my thoughts are, I think that Fairs is going to end up coming their starting guard, and that's why they went and got Poole because they're going to tell Poole, "Hey, we need you to come off the bench. You saw what you did as a starter. Cool. Come off the bench, go back to your natural position." And I think that's going to happen for him. I, for me, my issue with New Orleans is like they have a because this is my personal opinion. I think Zion doesn't want to be there anymore, and he's doing all the things and all that because that's his way of like lashing out. But yeah, I feel like if I'm New Orleans, you have a good crop of players. Who can you add in or bring in that can help make y'all a legit team and you can start actually building for the future? Because again, you got a guy like Fears, young player. I fully anticipate, like as my expectation rather is like they probably want him to play two, let DeJounte run the point and to have Poole come off the bench, which may not be a bad thing, but I'm at a mindset that like, hey, this whole Zion thing isn't gonna work. So figure out what you can do and see because I know he has value. It's just
Yeah.
like my thing is like stop. And I understand like it's easy for me to say because I didn't make that investment, but at the same time, it's one of those things like you got to be realistic about what your team is actually capable of doing and moving in that direction. Oh man, I'm surprised what's name didn't do anything crazy. Yeah, but yeah. Um, now we got Brooklyn up.
Nah,
Yeah,
I feel you,
uh,
bro.
yeah.
Yeah, just to touch on that, I think yeah, I think Zion is kind of on his last few chances
Yeah.
with New Orleans. I think they're trying to be patient, but I think they won't be as patient moving forward. But no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think they're going to have to pick a direction moving forward with this team. And, that's interesting what you said about the Jordan Poole thing about moving him, kind of more to a six-man role. That's gonna be interesting because especially coming off a year where he was mostly the starter, you could create a situation where he might be unhappy and you're dealing with a
Hmm.
disgruntled player. Um, I am curious the fit between him and Dejounte Murray and how they'll play in the backcourt together. But
Hmm.
definitely, I agree with you. I could see a situation where Fears ends up taking that starting role at some point. So
Yeah, yeah. And it's like I think the thing with Poole for me is he's a good player. The problem is when we've seen Poole at his best is when he was a six man. And again, like he played his when he first got to Washington, he was just god awful garbage. And as he got more time, you saw him start to get into rhythm. But I think with a team like New Orleans, they're one of those teams that they're feeling the pressure, like, yo, we need to be in the playoffs now. So I don't know if they're going to. I hear what you're saying about the disgruntled player, but I don't know with them trying to hold on to Zion and prove they didn't make a mistake. I don't know how patient they're going to be with him, and I can very easily see them saying like, "Hey, you're going to be our sixth man, come in, kill with the second unit, closeouts. Depending on closeout situations, we'll have you in the game." But yeah, I think that New Orleans intentionally went and got him because they knew, I think to a large part that like, yo, you're a six man at this point, and it's like, hopefully that's not the narrative of him in the NBA, but with what he's put out on tape recently, it's hard to argue.
yeah, yeah. The Brooklyn pick is in.
Hey, come on, Brooklyn.
Um, they
Yeah,
got 5 first-round picks. They could literally go anywhere here.
listen.
Um, I don't know. I thought I don't think they need a center because Nick Claxton, but they could trade
Yeah,
him. So I
mhm,
could see them picking Malawak here.
yeah,
There's rumors of Claxton going to maybe LA, going to Phoenix, a couple other
mm,
teams. But
yeah,
they can literally with 5 picks, they can pick whatever they want at this at number 8 right
yeah,
now.
yeah. It's funny about Brooklyn because, and because again, I live in Brooklyn, all those things. This is you have no idea how many times we've seen over the years where it's like Brooklyn has a good young team. They package those players in those picks, and then they go get an aging superstar. So I hope they actually get young players and develop the team because even with the players that they had, there was a nice little team. There wasn't necessarily the greatest, but they were scrappy and competitive. And I think that the thing for me looking at the Nets, actually get a team and let them grow and develop and don't try and speed up the process. I hope they've learned a lesson, but I don't know.
Okay.
All right, all right, go ahead.
So they go Igor Dimin, going with the guard from BYU, going
Okay.
for a point guard here, which I think makes sense.
Yeah,
Brooklyn just has like a wide open roster here. I mean, they don't really
yeah,
have. I mean, outside of Nick Claxton, who's probably going to get traded at some point, and
yeah,
then Cam Johnson, who I expect to get traded.
yeah.
I mean, they have nothing but like really
They are basically
low
a G League
end
team.
young players.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically
Hey,
a G
G
League
League
team. So I
team,
expect them. Like I would, correction, they got 4 first-round picks and a kind of a high second-round pick. Like
Yeah,
I would just basically, and I know they wanted to move up in the draft to get. I think they wanted Ace Bailey and
yeah,
some other players, but I think if they just draft, bro, just draft
yeah,
whomever and just have a G League team next year, and then be in the top 5 hopefully in picks
yeah,
again next year, and what's supposed to be another 2026 draft.
yeah,
Part of the rumors were that possibly that Brooklyn could use their cap space and trade Nick Claxton or Cam Johnson to get Bradley Beal's contract to pick up some extra draft
yeah,
capital. I don't know if that would happen, but I mean, I would. You know,
Yeah,
you gonna suck for the next year or two. If I
exactly.
can get something from Phoenix, I don't really think Phoenix got a lot of draft capital anyway. But if
Yeah,
I can get something from Phoenix, I mean, they got that number 10 pick. I don't know if they would trade that number 10 pick at this point and trade Bradley Beal along with it to get Claxton.
mm,
But I don't know. They just need to go young
yes,
for the next 2 to 3 years until they can
yeah.
actually do something. So
Or get a young or dude. My thing is this, right? If you don't want to, because I look at it like this, right? Yo, some scouting departments are terrible. It is what it is. Like, not everybody good at their job. Not knocking it. If you see a team has a prospect that they're not developing, bring that guy over develop. Because listen, I like Cam Thomas. I never expected Cam Thomas to become what he became. And it's like you go out there and you develop. And like to me, I look at Brooklyn and to your point, my thing with them is like, yo, draft. If you do want to get a player, I would have been like, swing for the fences. You should have called them and said, like, yo, what about Devin Booker? Right? If Bradley Beal's available, see if you can get Booker or something like that. And it's like, because to me, I'm looking at Brooklyn and I'm like, yo, y'all do this all the time. I would like to see y'all draft because whenever y'all take these players and develop them, they've been able to put out really good teams. And again, like right as the team is getting ready to make that push to be a consistent playoff team is when they go crazy and all that. So I'm like, yo, you have it. You got those 4 picks. Like rebuild your entire roster. For me, I'm looking at it. Y'all a G League team, y'all a college team. Go get a college coach. Bring a college coach in. Let them build the culture, all those things, so that when these guys are ready, you can go get a legitimate NBA coach that can take them to that next level and see what happens. But I do want to see how it plays out because again, like I feel like as just looking at Brooklyn and their history and knowing how they move, they got to be smarter. And again, like the draft is open. You never know what you're able to do and what you're able to make happen. If you are going to trade for a cap space move, I'm not mad at it and get those picks from Phoenix because it works. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Because I would have called as much as I like the idea, because I do like Bradley Beal, and like that Phoenix situation was crazy. But I mean, like, listen, Bradley Beal's on teams that ain't got nobody. He turns into a superstar. So come on over to Brooklyn. Let's put some points up and all that stuff. Regain what people were saying with your career and see what you can do.
yeah, I don't know. It might turn into a buyout situation. I don't know if he would be. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Um, we got Toronto up next,
Yeah,
and then I think after them will be the Phoenix pick. Speaking of the
yeah,
Phoenix, um, Toronto could be an interesting playoff potential team next year. You got
yeah.
Brandon Ingram will
Hmm.
be added to the team. Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly,
Hmm.
Jacob Hurdle.
Yeah,
Interesting team. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a great team. I do question the fit of Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and R.J. Barrett. I'm not
yeah,
sure. There's not a lot of shooting on this team.
yeah,
Um, they got Grady D. I'm not calling him by his last name,
yeah.
but um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird makeup of a team. I mean, I think they could. I mean, I'm still with this Malawak. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
surprised. I mean, I'm not saying I'm surprised he's fallen. I think this is
yeah,
about the area he's projected. Jacob Pertle's not going to is a free agent after this year, so I can see him
yeah,
going center.
yeah.
Phoenix needs a center too, which is
I was about
interesting.
to
If
say that.
Malawak doesn't get picked here, I can see
Exactly.
Phoenix picking him. It'll
Yeah,
be interesting if Malawak gets picked here. If Derek Queen goes next to
to
Phoenix,
Phoenix. Yeah,
um, yeah. So these next couple of
yeah.
picks are gonna be interesting, but
Mm.
Toronto,
They're about to be on the
interesting,
trade market.
interesting team.
Yeah. I just,
I I mean, they were trying to trade for Giannis, which I could see. Like, I could see Giannis in Toronto,
He would love Toronto.
but
Yeah,
yeah, but it's just a weird. It's a weird team makeup right now. So
yeah. Nah, I think for me, my thing with Toronto, I agree. Like they need shooting badly. I think they were when they made those trade for those players, the expectation was like they would have developed a shot by now. I don't know what happened, but again, like I could easily see they'll probably try and hold on to Scotty Barnes and BI, but I think Barrett, if I'm Barrett, I'm packing my stuff up. Like they're probably gonna trade me. So you got to figure out where they're sending you to next and kind of see if you can manipulate that because Barrett's a good player, but at the same time, like he's still young. So I'm like, if I'm him, I'm trying to find a team like, yo, where can I go and revamp my career?
so they took Colin Murray Boyles, who's kind of a 4-5.
Yeah.
Um, he was the
Okay.
best player on the board
Got you.
for. Yeah,
So it looks like what's
he's
next going to Phoenix.
Malawak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's listed as Houston picking, but of course Houston traded that pick to
Yeah.
Phoenix. I think people are crazy. I think they gotta pick him.
Yeah.
There's Bulls fans right now that's hoping Malawak falls to the Bulls right now, and I think the Bulls fans are crazy.
I mean,
I think I'm a reasonable Bulls fan,
I got you.
um, yeah, but Phoenix needs a center.
Yeah.
They got 7 guards on their team right now. With Booker, Beal, Jalen Green. I mean, Dylan Brooks is listed as a guard, but he's more of a small forward.
Yeah.
You still got what's his name? Grayson Allen. So they
Yeah.
got a lot of guards. Um, but yeah,
Do you
that's an
think?
interesting pick for Toronto.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
think. No, I mean, well, my thing with Toronto is I think to your point, they're trying to get better with the spacing. We'll see how that pans out. But what I was gonna ask with Phoenix, do you think when they traded Kevin Durant, do you think they should have tried to get Jabari Smith?
I think they should have.
Yeah.
I think they should have got Jabari Smith. I don't. I feel like he was in one of the first offers that was made.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit. It's a little bit interesting that they didn't go after. I was kind of surprised that they got both Green and Brooks. I
Yeah.
get it because like I think Houston was like, you gotta take Green if we're gonna make this trade.
Yeah.
And they really didn't. Phoenix didn't really have a lot of leverage. But I think Phoenix was like, we need to change this culture.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably where Dylan Brooks came into play here rather than Jabari Smith. They need to become a more defensive minded culture.
Hmm.
You can plug, I mean, they're looking at playing Booker, Green, and Brooks at the 1, 2, 3 spots. And
Yeah.
so I think they'll be still don't have a true point guard, but all three of them can kind of be interchangeable at the guard
Yeah.
spots. I mean, Dylan Brooks can play some of the point a little bit, not on a full
Hmm.
time basis. I think if you make this pick with Malawak, you have a
A legit
starting
five.
center.
Hmm.
You still got young players like Ryan Dunn who can play the three and some small ball four. Ryan Dunn is going to be one of the best defenders in the league in a couple of years. He's already a good defender, but he's going to be one of the
Yeah.
best defenders. You got Royce O'Neal still there.
I
He can
forgot they
play the
had Royce.
four.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I
I
know.
mean, I think. you got a play-in type team. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they could be a play-in type team.
Yeah,
Especially if you get a center here
yeah,
that
I,
can play defense.
yeah.
Um,
Because this is the thing. This is my question for Phoenix. They know they basically have to rebuild the team. Love Devin Booker and all those things, but do, and again, I'm sure from their standpoint, they don't mind keeping him because they know he's gonna put people in the stadium. But if I was the Suns, if again and again, like you have Beal all them, but like if you're gonna do a rebuild, do a complete rebuild. You know, a guy like Booker could fetch you a pretty ticket. I would have tried to call. I would have tried to swing instead of KD, swing Book to Houston. But yo, we'll give you Booker, Green, Smith, and you would have had more leverage to get those picks as well. And seeing what you could have did, and you could have moved KD someplace else. And Bradley Beal, I mean, listen, like I said, I would not be surprised if Bradley Beal, because to your point, I think he's going to be in the buyout market, and the team I think for sure I know is going to call Bradley Beal is going to be the Lakers. They're gonna make Bradley come on over. Like I could very easily seeing Bradley Beal ending up as a Laker by the time the season is over.
I think that would be horrible.
I don't disagree
I
with
can
you.
see it. I
Yeah,
don't. I don't know. That's a good question of where Bradley Bill could go because I don't know he's a good fit anywhere right now. To be honest with you,
hmm
um, but going back to the whole Phoenix situation and going back to the KD situation, I think I mean I think it's because the owner is stubborn. He
yeah,
came in very arrogant. We about to do this. We're going to be a winning team.
yeah,
Like for him to go back and allow this to be a rebuild, it's a shot to his ego, I think. And
yeah.
so they've been on kind of record saying that they don't want their draft picks back or to rebuild. They want to be a competitive team.
Uh,
I agree. I mean, I
yeah.
think they should have traded Booker and Durant and just went straight. Whoa, there's a trade.
Thank God. Okay.
Phoenix has just traded the number 29 pick because they got a second pick for
Yeah.
Mark Williams from Charlotte.
Oh,
So now they got their center.
okay.
They got their
What Phoenix
center,
about to do? Hold on now. What's Phoenix about to do? This looks right. Oh,
and they got a extra first round pick in 2029. So this is kind of similar to the package that the Lakers offered.
okay, okay,
So now Phoenix gets their center and Mark Williams. I like this move.
okay, okay.
Now I think you go four spot now at this
hmm
pick at number 10.
That's
And let's make sure that this
the trade went through. Yeah, like shout out to
I
them
think
for
you
that.
go
Like,
Noah I think you go Noah Essengay. No, they still went Malawa.
okay.
Wow.
Mm. Okay, so
Wow. Okay, Phoenix. They just
Phoenix
got Mark Williams and Malawat at their
and
bigs.
they picked up that extra
That's
pick too.
crazy.
Okay, so then this is a all right, Phoenix. I like what they're doing.
Well, no, they gave up an
Oh, they
extra
gave a
pick.
pick. Okay, my fault. Yeah, I heard that wrong. So,
Um,
hmm,
yeah, they gave up two picks for Mark Williams.
okay.
So they get a starting center in
Mm-hmm.
Mark Williams from from Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then you get Malawak to come in and develop behind Mark Williams.
Okay.
And so both defensive minded centers. Phoenix said they wanted to change
So,
their identity to be more of a defensive team. Now you got Dylan Brooks.
okay.
That's a low key. I
Hmm.
like that.
I'm not going. I respect the direction they're going in. The question I have for them is because Dylan Brooks is, as far as it goes, like a straight up defender. I think he's a good defender, but he's more of like a pest and an annoyance, and that's what adds to him being such a good defensive player. The question I have for, excuse me, for Phoenix is okay. You saying you want to they want to reshape their identity and things like that. How bought in are their two offensive stars to that? Because Book is a good player. He's not gonna let you blow past him. He'll play all right, but at the same time, we know Book is at his best when we tell him just go score a basket, go get a bucket. And I'm kind of curious about how that's gonna play out because as much as I love that the direction they're going in defensively, they need a point. A legit, hey, this person run the offense. Book, don't worry about people setting people up. Just go out there and get buckets. And again, like that to me is I want to see what the final piece is. Like, do you think it's off the board that Phoenix goes and tries to make amends with Chris Paul and bring him back over rather?
No, I don't think so. Um, because I don't think Chris Paul wants to go to it. I mean, I think he was willing to go to San Antonio to be a mentor to Wemby. I
Mhm.
don't know that you go back to be just a mentor type situation or to like because I don't see I don't know. I see what you're saying. I
Yeah.
think it's I think they need a guard.
Mhm.
They need a point guard. I think what they should do rather than getting a Chris Paul is, and this is not the immediate. This is more long term. I
Mhm.
think now with what they just did with getting Mark Williams, a young center, Malawak, another young center. You got Jalen Green, a younger two guard.
Mhm.
You got Ryan Dunn, a young three player who can play small ball four. I think going back to your point, I think later on down the road you trade D Book to get a point guard.
Mm.
I think you trade him to get a point guard down the road. I don't know if that point guard is a Darius Garland, who
Mm.
could be a young
Okay.
point guard on that team.
Okay.
I mean, he's hurt for the next 4 months or so that can't
Yeah.
happen immediately.
Yeah.
Um, so I could see a Darius Garland type move to Phoenix if
Mhm.
Phoenix decides to move off of Booker. But I also think it depends if Booker's like, if they're like 15 games under 500 and Booker says, I want to be traded, that could be different. I don't think he'll say
Yeah.
that. I think Devin Booker is more on the loyal side, but you never know these days.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But this team definitely needs a. I mean, this roster is complicated at the moment, so
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Think
Portland's up next.
uh, Portland. I'm curious to see what
No, go
Portland going
ahead.
to do.
Jump in with what you was about to say.
Oh yeah, no, no. My thing with Phoenix is like they have a lot. Because personally, I feel like this. I agree with the Devin Booker thing. I think what they should do, if I'm Phoenix, you got to be honest and recognize, like you're in rebuild mode. Like I said before, find a team that I Book could go play on a lot of teams, and to me, you go find a team and be like, hey, because if it's me, I'm looking at, and it depends on how open they are to it. But if I'm Phoenix, I'm calling OKC and be like, hey, if I want to give you Book, what are you willing to give me? And go from there. Because that's an easy way you're going to get some good players who can play defense. They're young, they're cheap, they're hungry. And OKC got a boatload of picks. So it expedites what you're trying to do, and it doesn't necessarily, it shouldn't take too much away from what Oklahoma City has built. So that's what, to me, if I'm them, that's what I'm trying to see. Because again, like I doubt they would do it now. But if you was to say like, hey, if we put a trade around Jalen Williams and Book and some picks and other players, how open are they to that? Because again, like Phoenix, you want to rebuild, you know, you quote unquote say know what you want to do, go from there. Or even if you can't get Book, make Bradley Beal the centerpiece for a team that you know needs an offensive spark and all those things. So that's what I would do. But yeah, I think Phoenix is they in a unique space.
Portland's making their pick.
Yeah.
Cedric Coward,
Okay.
who's moved up in the draft. He's a
Okay.
6'6" wing player. They say he's probably going to be a surprise player.
Okay.
Um, Actually, Shams is reporting. I just looked on
Yeah.
socials. Shams is reporting this is actually Portland just traded this pick. Memphis
Really?
moved up to get Cedric Coward.
Okay.
So Portland's moving back. So this is actually a Memphis pick. So
Okay.
Memphis gets them a 6'6" wing player. This is, I guess, kind of in a sense the Desmond Bain replacement.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Desmond Bain replacement. Let me dial that back a little bit. Because I think you're kind of retooling right now. You got Ja.
Yeah.
Jalen Wells is who played really well as a rookie last year. He's
Yeah.
probably going to be their starting two guard. I don't
Hmm.
know. Maybe Cedric Calvert can play the three here.
Hmm.
They got Zach Eady. They got Jaron Jackson. So this could be potentially their starting small forward. I mean, they
Yeah.
got some other players
Yeah.
here. Well, they got KCP. So
Oh, I
never
forgot
mind.
they did.
KCP is probably going to start at the three. Yeah, they
No,
got him in that trade. So
I forgot. I think they're yeah. I mean, I could see with KCP at this point in his career, they could slide in. That I'm excuse me. I know he probably doesn't mind being a bench player, so I could see that not necessarily being an issue. I do like that pickup for Memphis. I think it gets them athletic and keeps them in that space, and we'll see how it goes. Being honest, like I'm kind of surprised that they still held on to Ja because I mean that move for Desmond Bain was insane, and not trying to knock Desmond Bain. I think he's a phenomenal player. But 4 picks for him, it's like I need Orlando to explain what was going through their minds. Like I know they're saying they're expecting themselves not to need those or those not to be high quality picks, but a lot of teams have said the same exact words, and it hasn't panned out the way they wanted it to. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, retool year for them. I think they got
Mhm.
some really good, solid young players on their roster. We got to see if Ja
Yeah.
Morant can make it a whole year between injuries and just getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So we'll see where Memphis is at moving forward.
Yeah.
They're
Memphis, the home
supposed
of
to
the
be a
YN,
really
bro.
good team, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That-
literally,
that's-
literally.
yeah.
But I like the Cedric Coward pick for them. I mean,
Yeah.
whether he starts or comes off the bench,
Hmm.
is a good another wing player that can play defense. He's a
Yeah.
kind of a 3-and-D type player. My Bulls are on the clock.
Who you want
My
your boys to
Bulls
get?
are on the clock.
What are the Bulls gonna do?
Man, something stupid. They never make the right pick, man.
Yeah.
No, they made the right pick last year. We get a modest Bucelas.
Yeah.
Noah Esingay, who's the best player on Jay Billis' board, has been rumored to the Bulls. So I wouldn't be mad at that pick.
Yeah.
They've been rumored to pick a guard. I hope they don't pick a guard.
Yeah.
Derek Queen has fallen to 12.
Okay.
I don't. At first, I liked the Derek Queen possibility, but he's not athletic enough for the way, Josh Giddey plays with this Bulls
Yeah,
team. And he's not, he's not going to be a necessary athletic defensive player. So I'm not sure I'm too crazy. I won't be mad at a Derek Queen pick, but
yeah,
I have more preferences than Derek Queen.
I got you.
So um, yeah, I'm hoping they pick Noah Isingay.
Okay.
Isingay is from France. He's a 6'9", kind of wing type player. I think if the Bulls grab him, it'll be kind of a situation where him and Modest can both play the 3-4 positions.
Yeah.
Isingay is 18 years old. He's
Ooh.
young. Um, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Asa Newell is from Georgia.
Hmm.
He's a four. He's probably a kind of a right now better player at the four. I wouldn't be mad at Asa Newell. You got Thomas Solber from here at Georgetown University. He's a center. I don't think they'll pick Thomas Solber, but I think he's going to be a good center in the league. I think that could be a Brooklyn pick, Thomas Solber,
Yeah.
at whatever they pick again. I think at
Yeah.
19,
Hmm.
if they want to pick up a big. Um, I don't know, bro. I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm about to be blown. Um,
Yeah.
oh, oh, yeah.
I mean,
The Bulls be disappointing me a lot sometimes
I get you.
from a management standpoint and how they add
Yeah.
players. I don't want no more Dalen Terrys. I don't want no more Patrick Williams. Even though I thought Patrick Williams was going to be good, I don't
Yeah.
want no more Dalen Terrys. I don't want no more Patrick Williams. I want somebody that's NBA ready that can come in and compete for minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I got you. See, my thing for the Bulls, like you said, like you got a lot of guards, right? And just thinking creatively, I don't like, yo, you need help on the wing. You and then again, like you have some young guards who people are excited because again, like I think that I'm sure like I was surprised at how well Josh Giddey panned out for them. I didn't think he was gonna be that guy, but he's done well for them. See
Yeah.
what else you can do in packaging because again, like I don't understand how, and I understand to some extent, you try to take who's the best player available on the board, and it's like that conversation of do you draft need or board? But I would say in some situations, go for need. I would just be like, yo, man, see what you can get. Package that 12th overall pick and see what team is willing to give you a quality wing player to add to what you're doing. And, because like, again, like I look at Chicago and it's just, they're another team that could be potentially interesting to your point, but it's just, yeah, I got like, it feels like I got like 18 guards over here sometimes. Like, what's going on, And again, like I like how Giddy plays. But I'm like, bro, you too big, man. Get down there on the block and be a point forward. Stop playing out here. But yeah, like I would have been. I'm curious to see how they look and how they continue to build that team. So yeah,
The pick is in.
yeah.
Noah Essengay,
You
like I
see,
thought. So
hmm
it fell that way.
yeah,
So you got the young player from France,
yeah,
6'9" player. I'm okay with this pick.
yeah,
I mean, he's a developmental prospect.
hmm
He's going to need time to. He's going to have to one put some weight on.
yeah,
Two, not sure what his true position is yet, whether he's a 3 or 4. I think. Yeah, I mean,
I think for now they'll probably run him at the three.
interchangeable.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, between him and Modest, they're both going to have to put on some weight. I
hmm
mean, I think this is going to be a nice little running gun type of team.
hmm
Um, and I don't know. I mean, I hope they keep Kobe. He's in a lot of trade rumors because he's in a contract year, and they don't know if they're going
Yeah,
to pay him and Giddy. You got Io
yeah,
coming back. Um, you got yeah. I mean, yeah. We just need to stay getting younger. We need to trade Vooch as soon as possible if we can trade him. I'm not sure if anybody wants to take him, even
uh,
on an expiring contract. But
yeah.
yeah, we
I
just
forgot
need
you have
to
what you.
uh, yeah, we need to continue just moving in this direction for the Bulls. But I like to pick
Yeah.
right now. So I'm seeing socials. They're moving a little bit faster than the draft. So Atlanta's supposed to have the next pick, but they just
Mhm.
traded down with New Orleans.
Mm.
New Orleans is moving up and they're drafting Derek Queen at the 13th pick. So they moved
Okay.
back. They had the 20 something pick. They're moving up to take Derek Queen.
Hmm.
So going back to that conversation earlier,
Yeah.
I felt like they should have took a center,
Hmm.
Malawak at that spot, but they moved back up to get Derek Queen to put him next to Zion. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think if Zion can stay healthy and be kind of like help defense on a weak side, that would help Derek Queen a lot. Um, so I mean, okay, New Orleans, not crazy about. I mean, no, I like Jeremiah Fears. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think now they're doing is stacking young players on their team. They've gotten
Yeah.
younger. You get a point guard and a center that are likely in the moment going to be backups. Because I think they still got is it Eve Messi on the team?
I, it. I know it's. It. No, I know because I know he's a European
It's
player. I
Eve
can't.
Messi.
Yeah. Because, but that's my thing
Yeah,
with
they got Eve Messi who
he's a stuff he's is he no he's a five, he's a five. My fault, I was mixing over. I thought he's a four. Um, yeah, I mean, I respect what New Orleans did, and I like that idea for Atlanta too. Because again, like Atlanta, kind of not kind of, they have a good core. It's just given that time, given that time to grow and gel. Um, low key, I was surprised because I thought Trey was going to get traded, but it is what it is. I think kind of just going back to New Orleans. I'm at a mindset like their what they're doing is good, and they have some good young prospects who could potentially emerge and be like that franchise player for them. So I like that. They got a center, Zion, someone who's going to help or make what Zion does easier. Because again, Zion is a good help defender, but so it's just yeah, if Zion is able to stay healthy and seeing what New Orleans is able to put out there, like New Orleans is one of those teams that potentially could be a sleeper pick, and I could see them being hell to deal with in the plane.
yeah yeah yeah. I like what with Joe Dumars coming in as management for New Orleans. I see taking more of like a younger direction,
Yeah.
changing the identity. Got a lot of young players, young wings. So I think they they're not going to be a playoff team this year, but
Yeah.
I like the direction they're going, and
Yeah.
so Atlanta um, moving back is interesting, but I mean they just picked up Porzingis,
Yeah.
and so I thought that was a good move if he's healthy next year. That's always a big if Porzingis can be healthy. But they still got a Kongru who's their
Yeah.
backup center that played a lot of starting centers. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna affect
Yeah.
them majorly. I think it helps them. I think if KP can stay healthy, Atlanta's definitely a playoff team next year.
Mhm.
Um, and they got Jalen Johnson coming back, who's a beast.
Boy,
Um,
listen.
yeah, I and and Ricochet, the
Mhm.
rookie from last year, the guy that I saw in Atlanta Mall a few months ago that nobody knew who he was.
This-
I'm walking through the mall and I'm like, I know he played for the Hawks. And just walking
Yeah.
in jewelry stores, just hanging out, and no, everybody's just walking past like it's a normal 6'11" dude in the mall, like
Yeah.
um, but he started to come in his own towards the end of the
Yeah.
year. So I mean, I think with Trey Young coming back for another year, Dyson Daniels balled
Oof.
out last year.
He's a
Yeah, they got a nice little
nightmare. Yeah.
squad. They got a
Yeah.
nice little squad.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think
and so
they're
I could see Atlanta. I'm not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no. What I was gonna also add too is like I think they're gonna feed off Trey's energy because Trey is the most disrespected the most disrespected superstar in the NBA. And I can see them taking on that attitude where it's like, oh yeah, I don't believe in us. And they're gonna be a team because people don't realize like Dyson and Johnson, them boys are some hellacious defenders. And it's like you're looking at what
Yeah.
they can do. And again, it's like again, this might be the year where the East is where the typical powerhouse teams in the East aren't there. And it's up for grabs. So I could see Atlanta being one of those teams because people forget they were in the Eastern Conference Finals not too long ago, like 2, 3 years ago. So it's like
Yeah.
they could be one of those teams where they get hot and similar to the run that Indy went on this year. I could see Atlanta being one of those teams that goes on a run like that.
Yeah. I think they just need to maybe pick up a vet or two to come off the bench to
Yeah,
kind of be fillers on that roster. But nah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
yeah.
So I think I'm gonna hang in here for a couple more picks, bro. And the old man is
Gotcha.
starting to come out of me. We got San Antonio coming up next at 14 and OKC at 15. Um,
Yeah, OKC is it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but I think San Antonio should trade back. Like they at this point in time, they legit have probably yeah, they probably have the best young roster in the NBA. And I don't really see them having too many needs at the 14 overall pick, so I could see them trading back. But yeah, it's just like again, San Antonio is one of those teams where not one of those teams, but it is the team to watch. And I don't see them being greedy in this year's draft. I could see them trading back and letting whoever it is that either wants to trade up, excuse me, because I wouldn't be surprised if I'm looking at it now, if Miami tried to jump up and grab somebody at this point in time. Again, kind of a spitball, but it's like, yeah, like I said, I don't really see too many holes in the Spurs, and they're at a very good place. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to go 4 or 5 in my opinion.
Hmm.
Sohan is in last year of his rookie deal. They're probably gonna resign him though. I mean, it's
Okay.
I don't think anybody's gonna be overpaying to get Sohan, but I think you build up your 4 or 5 depth. Harrison
Yeah.
Barnes is gonna be a free agent after this year. I think Asa
Mhm.
Newell from Georgia here.
Mhm.
That's gonna be my pick for San Antonio. Asa Newell. They could also use maybe kind of a 3 and D player because I think they could possibly trade Keldon Johnson at some point.
Yeah.
So I think this guy Carter Bryant. I think Carter Bryant, if I remember correctly, he's more of like he's a 6'8" kind of 3 and D player.
Okay.
So I'm going Carter Bryant or Asa Newell here for San Antonio. I think they just continue to build that long term
Yeah.
depth at the wing or the big position.
Yeah.
But I think they could. trade back though. I think it would be a
Yeah,
smart move though. I do agree with you.
yeah. No, I think no, I feel you. Again, because like I said, oh, okay. So who they picked up? They probably got Green.
Carter Bryant. Yep.
Okay.
They picked up Carter
Listen.
Bryant. Yep.
Okay,
And
okay.
again, wing player, 3-and-D player, 6'8". Um, you know, you just got a guard top of the draft, so your
Yeah,
guard position is set.
yeah,
Sohan and Wimby is kind of your
yeah,
4 and 5, kind of moving forward likely.
yeah,
Um, you got question marks whether Vassell and Keldon Johnson's going to be on this team long term.
yeah,
And they could be moved and bigger. I'm not gonna
yeah,
say Giannis. Giannis could be a possibility, but any star player, they got those are big enough contracts within a move.
yeah,
And then you keep a player like Carter Bryant. So
yeah. I'm
not surprised here. San Antonio always just a smart team, bro. They just draft
yeah.
well.
And
Yeah,
not even that, but I think like that to what we were saying earlier, a lot of teams they forget development and we see how it bites them in the end, right? Because even as much as we talk about like allowing teams to excuse me, players to grow and develop, Boston was really patient with that because even now, like they have probably two of the best, they're the two best wings in the game. And people still trying to break them up. But they let those guys grow. And it's like I'm looking at a team in San Antonio. We know it's only a matter of time before they become that nightmare. And it's like I think I would not be surprised if this is the year where Wimby puts it all together and he emerges as a legitimate superstar. Like we've seen him flirting with it, but I think this is the year where he puts it all together and he just goes bonkers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Um, I still think he need. I still think he needs like. I think De'Aaron Fox got to emerge and be that number two, like
Mhm,
that real number two on
mhm.
that team, and then we'll see who emerges as like the number three kind of option on that team. Um, that's going to be key to Wimby being a greater player. Is players taking the load off of him. Um, I think Wimby's going to be a great player. I just don't think he's the dominant player yet. He's a great
Mhm,
defensive player.
mhm.
He can put 20 a game, but Wimby is not that player like I'm going to him in the last 5 seconds of the game to give me a
Yeah.
basket. He can, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm not saying, but you know, I still have questions. Can he be a closer? Can he be somebody
Yeah.
that you can, if the team's down by 6 or 8, you give it to Wimby every possession in the last 5 minutes of the game, and he just go carry the team. Like
Yeah.
I think he can do a lot of dynamic things. I think
Hmm.
what I struggle with because Wimby's so perimeter
Hmm.
dominant right now
Hmm.
because of his frame. Um, I think sometimes he just falls in love with the jump shot a lot,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Sometimes I think that's not saying he's a true center per se,
Yeah.
but I want to see him take another step where he gets just more to his game. I want to see like that top of the key,
Yeah.
mix up in the post a little bit, knowing how to take advantage of matchups. Because sometimes like Wimby will come down and he got a 6'3" guard on him, and then he pulling up for three. Like,
Yeah.
bro, like
Yeah.
my thing is, and maybe this is too, some people might call it the 40 and over ball, but I mean, I'm like, man, let me kick this out and
Yeah.
then go take this 6'3" dude down to the post and make them double, and then I kick out to the 3-point shooter. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to become like a Shaq
Yeah.
or that type of center. That's not what I'm saying, but learning how to let the game come to him, recognizing mismatches, and dominating in a way that he can dominate by finding different spots on the floor, but also open it up for his teammates. And then
Yeah.
you have like a number two, like De'Aaron Fox and others that can take advantage of those matchups. So,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like to the point that you were making earlier, I think I do think De'Aaron Fox is that guy, and I think I think he'll become that number two. I think the trade mid-season kind of, it's hard to, get rotation sets and all those things where it's like you coming in and but I think with a full off season, they should be good. My thing with Wemby, like that's weird, and I know because of how the Spurs are run, I know this is happening, but I do think like, yo, if it was me, yo, Wemby, you see that old man Tim Duncan? You about to go spend the entire summer rehab with this man and soak up all the knowledge that he has because the Spurs are one of those teams where they have a tremendous lineage of big men. And when you talk about someone like Tim Duncan, who's the greatest power forward of all time, that's definitely someone you can be talking to who can tell you, yo, this is how it is. And it's like your jump shot is better than his. But outside of that, like you can't name a big man whose game offensively was as complete as his was. So go out there, learn from that man, and add those pieces to your game so that way you can become that dominant force that the Spurs need you to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I agree. So interesting thing happened in the Phoenix trade
Mhm.
to get Mark Williams is, and probably players don't even know who this guy is, but they traded back to Charlotte this guard, and I'm don't even know how to pronounce his name, so I don't want to get canceled. But Vasile Misic, he actually played for Charlotte last year, got
Yeah.
traded to Phoenix in the Nurkic trade, and now he's getting traded back to Charlotte, where he came
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
in this Mark Williams trade, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. But Charlotte picks up that extra pick, so which is interesting in that
Yeah.
trade. All right, OKC, the pick is in. I think they got to pick center, bro. Um,
I think they're
you
gonna
got Thomas
go for.
Sorber here.
Okay.
You think
I'm not sure.
four?
Yeah. I think they want to get more size, and Chet is a solid player, but another one who has a really wiry frame. I think they want to add more size, like actual height to what they do. Okay.
Yeah, I think they need to go center. I think Thomas
Yeah.
Sorber here. That
Yeah.
the pick is coming in now. Let's see where
Yeah.
they go. Yep, Thomas Sorber.
Hey, see?
Man, I should be an NBA GM, bro.
You need to just for
I need
sure.
to
Like
be
what
an
happened?
NBA GM.
Listen.
I need to change my career. Where the Wizards at? Call me, bro. Call me.
Listen.
I don't
I'll be
like
there.
you all, but I will
You'll be
rebuild your team.
you know that you'll be a consultant. Like, yo, this what you need to go get. Stop playing.
Yeah, definitely. No, I like this pick because Hardenstein is going to be a free agent after this year. I think Hardenstein
Okay.
could come back though. I think similar situation that just happened with Fred VanVleet with Houston,
Yeah.
who signed like that big contract for a couple years, had the option on his contract, and now Van Vliet's coming back on a cheaper deal.
Yeah.
I could see Hardenstein playing a year out on this 33 million this year. Hardenstein is not a 33 million center on your team.
Absolutely not.
He can ball, but it was a overpay, which was a
Hmm.
smart overpay on OKC's part.
Yeah.
But maybe you can bring back Hardenstein the year after on a 25 mil per year deal to keep
Yeah.
him long term. I
I
don't
mean,
know if you can because you got to pay Jalen Williams and
mm,
Chet
mhm.
in the
Yeah.
next year or two. So I think the Sober deal is smart because if you don't keep um,
First
Hardenstein,
time.
you got a center coming behind him here in Sober. And
Yeah.
Sober was pretty good, went under the radar because he played for Georgetown.
Yeah.
Georgetown,
Um,
um, I want, I follow Georgetown in Maryland, but Georgetown hasn't really been that great the
yeah.
last couple of years. But Georgetown's had some good players. I think they may have at
Yeah.
least one other player that gets drafted in this draft, and then they have a guard that actually might have. I don't know if he transferred or not, but they had a guard that was really good as well.
Yeah.
This portal stuff, you never know who's staying on
Who's
what
going?
team.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
this is a good move for OKC. So
Yeah.
I'll let you wrap up with some final thoughts about OKC, man, and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm,
championship and all of
yeah.
that.
Brother. Shout out to OKC. They did. The funny part is I had them originally. I had them seeing Boston in the finals and Boston beating them. But I think you got to give OKC credit. I like Jalen Williams. I think he is a very good player, but I don't think he is. I still think OKC needs to look for a number two if they want to have a dynasty. Like someone who can be a legitimate number two. You don't got to worry like consistent. And it's not that Williams wasn't consistent, but if anyone, there's no one that's going to sit down here and tell me they expected him to play the way he did in the finals. That's just let's just be real, you know. So, and again, like I think he's a good player, but I think when you ask him to be number two, we see that in those big moments, he doesn't show up the way they need him to. And it put Shea was able to bring it out, but also you have to be realistic. Like the way Hallie was starting, you know, it looked like it was about to be a battle of, a good old fashioned point guard, bucket for bucket, play for play type thing. But yeah, shout out to OKC. They built their team, developed their team, and I think like they want a dynasty, they got to go get a legitimate number two option and see how things go from there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think you're totally right. I felt the same way. I think and I don't think OKC is necessarily what you would call a dynasty, but
Yeah,
if they want to get back to the championship next year, I think they have the ability to, but everybody's looking to get better every year.
yeah,
So you as a team got to look to get better as well. So I think they got all the right pieces, all the right complementary players, rebounders, defenders,
yeah,
shooters. But you got to go out there and get a number two scorer that can take the pressure off of Shea, allow Jalen to be that number three guy. I thought
yeah,
Chet could be that, but he's still developing and still kind of finding his game. And both
yeah,
him and Jalen are young, but I wouldn't mind seeing. I mean, you made a good point earlier. Like, go get a Jalen Green. I mean, not Jalen Green,
yeah,
Jalen Brown,
yeah,
um, type player. Um, I wouldn't have been mad if and now that's not a thing, but I wouldn't have been mad if they went out and got KD. Like I thought,
yeah,
even like KD coming to OKC could have been a thing, could have
yeah,
kind of been an opportunity to take some pressure off. But I mean, at this point, like that kind of messes up your timeline, and you don't want to just give up assets just to be giving up assets. So I'm kind of mad, not mad that they didn't get KD, but
yeah.
I'm not
So,
even looking at rosters right now, and
mm,
just kind of like, I'm not sure.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Nah, my thing with
We'll
them,
see, man. We'll see.
yeah. I mean, listen, not for nothing. See if they can get Bradley Beal, bring him on over. Like, but I agree. Like,
I'm
OKC
not a Bradley
is
Beal fan at this point.
I mean, for me, the reason why I was saying it is because again, that's a very big. He's going to get them free him up for a lot of cap space. And when you, because again, to me, I feel like if Because like when you said the thing about KD, I agree. I felt like yo, it'd have been a great way to come back and say, yo, job not done. Bring a championship to OKC. That should hopefully shut up a lot of his critics. But it is one of those situations of OKC is another team where if they wanted to, they could break the NBA. They, like you said, they have all the pieces, all those different things that are interchangeable, and they got the pick. So if they want to, they can go get someone who could swing the power there and make them at least position them to be more of a, oh, this is a for sure dynasty.
Maybe not a true number two. I'm gonna be Kendrick Perkins here and just say a crazy wild take.
Okay.
What about what's my guy? Um, Austin Reeves. Could you see him playing for OKC?
Oh, that would be scary.
I don't know that the Lakers would make the trade. Like I think like they got pieces. Like I
Yeah.
think so. Hear me out, right?
Hmm.
I look at the Lakers. Um, the Lakers, in my opinion, Reeves, Doncic, and LeBron are all kind of weird fits with each other.
Yeah.
Especially from a defensive standpoint. And so, um, what if there was like and I'm not saying it would be an even trade, but like
Hmm.
Reeves for Lou Dort. Like a Lou
Okay.
Dort is like that defensive, take the pressure off Luca. They gotta,
Yeah.
now a wing defender who can shut down folk that can also
Hmm.
shoot and can drop 20 here and there.
Yeah.
And Luca could kick it out to him, and Lou Dort's going to shoot it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that it necessarily makes the Lakers better. It makes them better on defense. Um, but
Mm.
I could see like an Austin Reeves on an OKC, to kind of be a
Yeah.
scorer next to Shea,
Yeah.
and also be another ball handler because I think they were throwing them traps at
Yeah.
Shea,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean Caruso and others stepped up, but then like you have Austin Reeves who can get it off the trap,
Yeah.
and then just go create or score himself. So
Yeah. I like that. For me, my thing with if I was the Lakers and I was hearing this trade, I need Chet. Luke, give me Dort and Chet, and I'll give you Austin Reeves. I think that would make because again, like my thing is this, right? I feel like the Lakers are one of those. I'm gonna say desperate franchise because I feel like Lakers be making some moves where it don't make no sense. Like if you know Luca needs a lob threat, you should have gotten him a lob threat. Why they chose not to get Marcus Williams is beyond me. Mark Williams, excuse me. But yeah, if I'm the Lakers, get you a check. He's a young player, in addition to a Lou Dort, who can, at the very least, be a deterrent in the paint. You have Dort on the perimeter, all those things, and it's like technically you're giving up what Reeves gives, but you're getting another young player. You're getting a young player to basically pair with Luca. So you would have like your young core, where it's Luca, Dort, Chet. We'll see what LeBron does. Again, we all know Bron James ain't long for the Lakers, but hey, it is what it is. And you go about it that way. And then OKC, you get, okay, with the culture they have in OKC, Austin Reeves would be such a fit for it. They already moved like a college team. He looks like a college player. He's excitable. So I could see that being one of those few moves where it benefits both teams, but I would trust the Thunder more to continue going forward and do what they got to do.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I appreciate you, Kev, man.
Hey, no doubt, bro.
Um, I ain't know how long I was gonna make it. 2 hours is good for me, bro. But yeah, I'm gonna go get ready to turn it. I'm still probably gonna watch the draft, but just probably watch it just
Yeah,
kind of relax mode and see what happens for the rest of the day. I don't like
yeah,
that they doing round one on night one and round
yeah,
two on the next night. I don't like that because
yeah,
like round two is not really like most of the players not even gonna make the team on. But this is
yeah.
this whole they want
I
to
know.
stretch it out,
You know what
more
I was
money, sponsors, commercials. It's about the money,
exactly.
but
Yeah,
yeah, but definitely, man, we're gonna tap back in and talk some more
Abs-
sports,
but
bro.
absolutely,
Especially in
bro.
free agency coming up next week.
Man, listen,
Yeah, and
this.
then hopefully, man, Sean hit me up a little while ago, said he
eh,
would have jumped on if he ain't had basketball tonight. So
Okay, okay.
I hope we get our upper bro on and
Listen,
talk some basketball stuff.
exactly.
So, but definitely appreciate you coming through, bro.
Absolutely, bro, man. Yeah,
So
yeah.
cool. Let me end this stream. All right, y'all. In Facebook, YouTube, land, and all of that good stuff.
All right, later, y'all.